Some comics go the route of, I'm going to just say F Trump all the time, or that's their comedy. And I think it's like a siren leading you into the rocks. You've been lulled into just saying F Trump, screw this guy. And I think you've now put down your best weapon, which is being funny, and you've exchanged it for anger.
Ah, yes. And then they went out and firebombed a synagogue. That was a Democrat party. It's a party all the time. That Conan O'Brien. Remember Conan O'Brien? And a very good and happy Wednesday to you on this January 7th. The Democrats are still very upset about shooting and killing Ashley Babbitt. After she did, how many years did she do in the Air Force? Was it 12 years or 14 years in the Air Force? Honorably discharged, unlike Hunter Biden, for example. And she was shot and killed. Got a little exuberant, for sure. But the Democrat Party they love, they're the left. They're okay with killing. They like a lot of killing. Extraordinary stuff. Yes, sir. A lot going on in Washington today. Democrats love, who do they love? Kilmore Abrego Garcia. They love him. They're just, honestly, they're on the wrong side of absolutely everything. A nursing student in Georgia is murdered by an illegal alien. He was a Venezuelan illegal alien, wasn't he? We had a number of women murdered, often raped and murdered by illegal aliens, often from Venezuela. And the Democrat Party, how can I put this, doesn't care. They just don't care. They're not interested in saving American lives. They're not interested in stopping drug trafficking into the United States. And so, what are their sons going to do for a living? Got to have that going on. Womp, womp, womp. So much wackiness. Oh, we've got James Carville coming up. Those ridiculous Democrats. Yeah, they got the God bless America. And hey, who brought the microphone? Hey, turn the microphone on. They can't even organize a fake media stunt. Oh, but the media helps them out there. They got, mop up on aisle Democrat, these people. But we've got this mental case, James Carville, coming up. He is very unwell. And also, we got a former energy secretary in the United States talking about the Venezuelan oil, because the Democrats, they lie about everything. They just lie about absolutely everything. And then these rallies that the Democrats have that suddenly pop up, and they all have their pre-printed signs for something that didn't happen until 2 hours ago. And they're all organized, and they're out there being mental. How does that happen? I want to get into that a bit, too, because it's all astroturf. It's all fake. It's all a big lie, because the left lies about everything. I am telling you. Oh, and last night on the CBS Evening News, they have a new anchor on the CBS Evening News. It is not Walter Cronkite. It's a guy named Tony Dokapil. It's not the best name, I've got to say. Doukopil. Dokapil. That's, hey, Tony. And he seemed fine as an anchorman last night. The show was actually just fine. And he's under attack because he said something about Marco Rubio that was not negative enough. So the left is going apoplectic. They're going to have to firebomb something Jewish, which they like doing. The Democrats, I've been saying this for years now, the Democrats should really be wearing armbands. So we know who they are in public. So ICE knows who they are. They're anti-everything that is good for the United States of America. But you knew that. I think you knew that. Now, Wednesday, as everybody knows, is hump day in the Clinton household. Hillary has to get out of the house after waking up face down in a pool of her own dried vomit, which is a Wednesday tradition in the Clinton household. Whichever multi-million-dollar mansion they're in, I think their multi-million-dollar mansions are not as multi-million-dollar as the Obamas' multi-million-dollar mansions. They bought the Magnum PI mansion in Hawaii and bulldozed it so they could put up something big. Right? And then they got that, $14 million oceanfront estate in Martha's Vineyard, where it's recommended that you not paddleboard. Don't paddleboard, whatever you do. You got that multi-million-dollar mansion off of Embassy Row in Washington, D.C., right? In the shadow of the main mosque in Washington, D.C. That's where they like it. They're not on the side of Western civilization. Not with us. The battle is on. And look, we have been too complacent for too long, as Mike was pointing out. Yes, sir. Yeah, we're in the midst of a culture war, an uncivil war, a political war. I just hope the violent criminal Democrats who already shot Trump and shot and killed Charlie Kirk and shot and wounded Steve Scalise, and they firebombed Jewish governors' mansions, and they firebombed police stations and courthouses, and they form mobs across the country. They all chant like mental cases. Yes, sir. All right, but today, because it's hump day in the Clinton household, and Clinton's got to try it out again, it's also mail day. Mailbag day here on the Chris Plant Show. So mailbag day. Let's go to the mailbag, Michael. I know you want to get to a lot of stuff. I want to get to a lot of stuff. I need more time. I only have 3 hours. This is why I can't do guests. Too much stuff. It's the Democrats. All right, mailbag now. Mailbag. Kevin asks, Chris, what are the chances that Pam Bondi will screw up the Maduro prosecution? Or that the Obama-Biden-appointed activist judge will demand for the first time that a Venezuelan criminal, the Maduro and his wife, be returned home? It's true, the Democrats, every illegal alien Venezuelan gang member with Tren de Aragua is welcomed with open arms by the Democrats in the United States. They figure they won't be murdered. Their daughters won't be raped and murdered. And statistically, that may be true, but that is where the Democrat Party is. So what are the chances that Pam Bondi will screw up the Maduro prosecution? Let me start with that. It's the Southern District of New York where he was charged. And that is a hotbed of leftists. They just elected a communist to be mayor. And the jury pool will likely come from Manhattan, where communists voted for this jihadi to be mayor of New York. And then the jury pool will come in, and they're out there chanting, free, free Maduro, free Maduro. So I got to say, Kevin, I'm less worried about the Justice Department, although, you got to keep your eye on that, too, and the prosecution, the legal process, than I am about the Democrats in the jury pool. You only need one to screw things up, and it has to be unanimous. And the Democrats are out there with idiot hats. I love Maduro's hat, that funny hat. It's like a cat hat that he's wearing when he's doing a perp walk with cuffs on and stuff. Got a funny hat with the black coat. It's too bad Halloween isn't coming up, because that'd be a big hit as a Halloween costume, I've got to say. But I've got to say, Kevin, I'm less worried about the Justice Department under President Trump, but you got to look out for the permanent bureaucracy screwing up the prosecution, because apparently they've been collecting so much evidence for so long that it is a slam dunk. But then, the Democrats want to free murderers. They want to free Luigi Mangione, who shot to death on a New York City sidewalk a CEO of a healthcare insurance company, because he's against CEOs, because capitalism. And health insurance, that's not government, and they're capitalism. And normal people who are married to women and have 2 children that like them. So the Democrats are, as the jury pool, they're undemocratic. That's a problem. And he's worried, Kevin, also worried that this Obama-Biden judge, who is already getting in the way, the 92-year-old judge, God bless him, get him a cup of porridge. Worried that the Obama judge will demand for the first time that the Venezuelan criminal, Maduro, be returned home, as they want to let all the Venezuelan criminals stay. I think that the left cannot be trusted to send Adolf Hitler to jail. I honestly don't think that the Democratic Party in 2025 is up to the task of being American, which is what you need for jury duty, which is really a sacred and brilliant, ingenious American concept. And the way we do it is uniquely American. But, Kevin, I'm concerned that this can be screwed up. Says instead of their usual of releasing illegal alien Venezuelans on welfare, that's right, they'll probably end up awarding Maduro money. He's probably already got $2 billion. Just like Hugo Chavez's daughter reportedly already has $4.5 billion. She's, it's commie land. It's what they do. They steal everything. Thank you, Kevin. Yeah, I'm concerned. But I'm more concerned about the jury because they poisoned everything. They're the left. They're not liberals. Robert asks, next question. Robert asks, why is President Trump pushing so urgently for Greenland? Why the urgency? I know Russia and China are maneuvering, but seems sudden. And a perfectly good question, Robert. Trump is just a trip, isn't he? He's not an ordinary politician. In modern times, we've never had a president like Donald Trump. Maybe Teddy Roosevelt, which is a long time ago, was the president most like Donald Trump. But he's not an ordinary politician. He's not a traditional conservative. He's not a traditional Republican. He's not really a traditional anything. He is a unique figure, and he's a figure that fits more broadly into history than into the more recent American presidential contests, I would say. But why is he pushing? Now, the Chinese and the Russians have apparently been trolling around Greenland lately. The Russians want to secure the North Pole and the Arctic region because they want to dominate the world and enslave humanity, just like the Chinese are attempting to dominate the world in the 21st century. They've said it out loud, and that means enslaving humanity. But why is the president pushing so urgently for Greenland? Why the urgency? And it's just Trump's way. He's always got 5 things going on in his mind at the same time, and I'm a little bit guilty of that myself. It has been observed. It can be one of my shortcomings as well, or one of the things that makes me very interesting and entertaining. But why the urgency? President Trump's mind is moving at a different speed than everyone else's, and I think he sees moments like that to throw a concrete life raft to the Democrats and let them pick a fight. What are there, 60,000 people in all of Greenland? But the area of Greenland, I learned yesterday, that is without ice, is the size of California. It's a big island, Greenland. And don't count Australia. It may be the biggest island in the world. But why the urgency? I can't explain President Trump's thinking. I can't on that and a lot of other things. But it's always entertaining, always amusing, always like, wow, where did that come from? Suddenly Greenland. And Denmark is going to predict. No, they're not. I predict what will happen here, Robert, is that we're going to cut a deal with them that we've cut with islands in the Pacific and so on, where usually we end up paying them money, and we can put U.S. military there. We actually had a lot of military on Greenland from 1959 until the fall of the Berlin Wall. And everybody was fine with it then. And it's NATO. Now you got this Denmark, prime minister or whatever, saying any move on Greenland would destroy NATO. I think it's the prime minister there, a lady. Because Denmark is with NATO, and Denmark owns, in a colonial way, Greenland. Now, the Democrats yell about colonialism every day until they're backing the colonial power in Denmark that owns Greenland, a gigantic island in the North Atlantic that's not even close to Denmark, but they own it going back to the colonial days. And the Democrats now want to back the colonial power because everything they do is intellectually inconsistent. I see that I've gone way long because I talk too much. But I have 3 more questions from the mailbag that I'll get to in order. But why are the Democrats backing a colonial power in Denmark and supporting their ownership of a colonial holding in the form of Greenland? The island's right off of North America. Come on. Is Denmark in North America? I don't think that they are. Denmark's a wonderful country, beautiful country, great people. What the hell are you guys doing with Greenland? Come on. You got 60,000 people on the giant island. The Democrats, they're on the side of the colonial powers now because Trump That's it. Uh-oh. I just started chewing a Twizzler. A red Twizzler. I can make it through. And I need to get back to 3 more questions from the mailbag. And before we do, let's go to the telephones, Michael. Because it turns out I spend time on this. I need to spend time on this. But let's go to Matt, calling from Sandusky, Ohio. Matthew, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Good morning, Chris. I really enjoyed your interaction with Mike from Texas. There's a lot more of us out here, I hope, than what it looks like.
Yeah.
And it boils down to what you said. It's a battle for the truth. And you're one of the guys out here on the front lines trying to get the truth out. And it is so hard because the left is relentless. And they're like evil. They never let up. The devil never lets up. Evil never lets up. They're never going to let up. And I keep hoping for things will get better, and it just doesn't.
Yeah.
They don't learn their lessons. They don't change their ways, and it just makes me and Mike and you and people like us just get frustrated. And frankly, Chris, we can't afford to get weary. We can't afford to get tired. We can't afford to let up. Just like Mike was saying, we have to match them with our ferocity and our resolve, because they are determined to absolutely destroy us. And Ben Franklin, I think it was attributed. The saying was attributed to Ben Franklin: "A republic, ma'am, if you can keep it." That's and right. I think that Nostradamus Ben,
Yeah.
he probably saw this type of thing possibly taking place, and they dominate the airwaves that most Americans see so badly.
Yep.
I never thought I'd say this, but even my very wise daughters, they're honor society people on their own. They're beguiled by what they see in the news media because they're believing lies.
Yeah. Well, the Democrat Party's guy, Joseph Goebbels, famously said, "A lie told once remains a lie. A lie told 1,000 times becomes the truth." Now I've done it. I'm just scarfing down Twizzlers. I had to go back to the break room and grab 2 more Twizzlers because they're so good. We still have a lot more crazy Democrats to get to. But let me return to the mailbag. Because it's Wednesday. It's mailbag day. Pardon my chewing Twizzlers. Numbskull. All right, KW asks, he says, or she says, concerning the Trump Kennedy Center and performers canceling, do you think Trump's name should be removed? The answer may be to not only remove Trump's name, but to replace it with a Democrat. So like maybe James Earl Ray. They got to have, because the Democrats now, they're closer to Lee Harvey Oswald than they are to John F. Kennedy on the political spectrum. So maybe rename it the Lee Harvey Oswald John F. Kennedy Center. Maybe like that. But as concerning the Trump Kennedy Center performance canceling, it's true, a number of performers. I play the piccolo, and I won't perform there because Donald Trump and a Trump derangement syndrome is a genuine and authentic mental illness. In fact, we played the great audio of that psychiatrist who was talking about how it really, based on all of the characteristics of Trump derangement syndrome, that it should be categorized as a mental illness, and that a lot of his patients suffer from Trump derangement syndrome. Gave a very eloquent presentation on Trump derangement syndrome being a legitimate mental illness. That was good stuff and revealing. But so some performers canceled. That's fine. Bye-bye. See ya. No huge name has canceled. Just, I'm in the string section and I play the Jew's harp. I don't know, whatever you do. But some people that you've never heard of have said, I'm not going to perform there, and that's fine. Go away. So the answer may not only be to remove Trump's name, but to replace it with a Democrat. And James Earl Ray assassinated Martin Luther King, and he was a Democrat presidential campaign volunteer, right? James Hodgkinson was a Bernie Sanders presidential campaign volunteer. He shot Congressman Steve Scalise. John F. Kennedy was shot and killed by a communist, Lee Harvey Oswald. And the Democrats today are closer politically to Lee Harvey Oswald than they are to where John F. Kennedy was. I'm about where John F. Kennedy was, as politically and socially and culturally. The Democrats are not. So, interesting idea. Remove President Trump's name. Maybe replace it with the name of a Democrat. Could turn a prank on him and make it funny, which President Trump would likely do. President Trump, I think, he wants to kind of make the Kennedy Center better, spend a lot of money making it look better, fresher, newer, and have more mainstream American stuff rather than, gay, transgender, leprosy-stricken street prostitutes as whatever they're performing at the Kennedy Center when the Democrats are entirely in charge. It does get pretty ridiculous sometimes, but I've got to say I was struck, and also KW says I suggest it be called the Let's Go Brandon Kennedy Center. The Let's Go Brandon Kennedy Center. That's a fun idea. KW, I think you've got fun ideas here. Let me say that President Trump's name being on the exterior of the Kennedy Center will not survive 48 hours with the next Democrat president. That's for sure. Bitterness, resentment, Trump derangement center. And let me also say that if I were working in the Oval Office and the people came to me, the president's people came to me and said, hey, we're going to put Donald Trump's name on the side of the Kennedy Center, a big building, in front of John F. Kennedy's name, I would have said, I don't think that's a good idea. Now, I laughed. And I've been to the Kennedy Center, I think, 3 times since then for various things. And the Kennedy Center Honors, for one, and an opera for another, and something else. And the Kennedy Center is great. But here's the thing. The Kennedy Center was built after the President of the United States, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, was shot in the head and murdered. He was assassinated by Lee Harvey Oswald from the school book depository doing a Mannlicher, an Italian rifle. And with his wife at home, who was a Soviet woman from Savorodvinsk. But I've got I think that I would have said, let's not do that. Now, and Trump would say, let's do it and see what happens, because he has fun with everything that he does. And I've got to say, in the end, for the most part, I laugh. I'd say, well, I wouldn't do that. But I'm not president of the United States, and he is for the second time. And he gets to do that if he wants. It will be removed within hours, literally, of a Democrat coming in, because they're very bitter and rancorous about these things. But I wouldn't have put his name on it in the first place because it's a little silly. And the thing is, the president, the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., overlooking the Potomac River from the roof of the Kennedy Center, which is wonderful. You see the Lincoln Memorial and the Washington Monument, and look out over Georgetown, and it's a great look. Well, the Watergate is right in its shadow, or vice versa, and it's wonderful. I wouldn't have done it. Now I wouldn't remove it. Now you got to wait for the Democrats to remove it, and I wouldn't put well, there is a Democrat's name on it, and it's John F. Kennedy, and he is a martyred president. I don't like that word so much, but he was shot and killed by an assassin for political reasons, and the political reasons were that he was a communist, and he was pro-Castro and Cuba, and so is Barack Obama. And so are all the Democrats pretty much, because they love slavery. That's why they started the first American Civil War. But right now, I wouldn't remove it. I've got to say, KW, I wouldn't remove it now, Trump's name, because that had just looked kind of disorganized and should have thought of that before kind of thing. Democrats will remove it. And I wouldn't have put it up in the first place because it's kind of a monument in Washington, D.C., to an assassinated, a 20th century president assassinated by a communist. And the Kennedy family, doesn't float my boat one way or the other. But his name will be removed next time a Democrat comes in. And I wouldn't have done it in the first place. And I would have done it out of respect. I would have not done it out of respect for an assassinated, martyred American president. That's one good reason to not do it. Now, I've been there since the Trump thing is up on the side of the building. His name is on the side in front of John F. Kennedy, who was shot in the head and killed. President Trump was shot in the head, too, by a Democrat. Just grazed him, thankfully. But there you have. Should his name be removed? So that's KW. I hope that answers your question. I wouldn't remove it now. I'd wait for let the Democrats do that because they'll enjoy it so much. Trump has already been shot once. Another guy tried to shoot him in Florida. But there was one guy that tried to shoot Kennedy, and he got it. So we got that. Does that answer it? I hope that answers it. Next, thank you, KW. And it's a big deal. The president does things like this to poke them and to goad them on. And I think he laughs. He's got to laugh when that he laughs when he does this stuff. And I laugh when he does this stuff too. But it's like, okay, calm down. John F. Kennedy was shot in the head and killed when he was president by a communist. And then they built this Performing Arts Center in Washington, D.C. as kind of a monument to an assassinated president. And leave bad enough alone. That would be my take on that. Thank you, KW. Two more questions. Gray Background is the identification here, asks, if daycare centers receive huge amounts of subsidies, why are parents charged huge amounts of money? One-word answer, Democrats. One-word answer is Democrats. And it's because the Democrats turn everything into a racket using other people's money. And it's about turning the United States into a third world country. Why do you think we're $37 trillion in debt? It's because of bad ideas. Almost always, not always. Republicans have a lot of bad ideas too, and always have, or have for a long time. But this is just kind of, it's the Democrats. It's other people's money. It's redistributionist public policy. It's public dollars and the Democrats, and they want to. And then they say, oh well, we're taxpayers pay. You pay for it too, because they have the minds of commies, and commies just want to grab every dollar out of every pocket that you have, and they want to redistribute in order to. In fact, we haven't even gotten to that. Because Keith Ellison, the Attorney General in Minnesota, sitting down with the Somalis, and they're all offering to give him money. And they've stolen the money from us. And the Democrats, Keith Ellison, the Democrat who thinks he's going to be governor and president or something, he's cheering, yeah, give me the money. Yeah, sure, yeah, Somali, whatever. Yeah, come on. Yeah, give me money, I'll give you a bag of beetles. Something to munch on. There we go. That's good. So, yeah, if daycare centers receive huge amounts of not all of them, but the Democrats set up these government-funded rackets, and then they find ways to make sure that the money goes to their friends, who will then give the money to them so they can buy TV commercials, so they can continue to be in power, so they can continue to abuse power and get richer. Because this is the way of the third world, and we are becoming, more rapidly than I ever thought possible, a third world beep hole country, entirely because of the Democrat Party. But they want to stick it to you, and especially the white ones. Like in New York, they got that white woman in charge of housing in New York wants to penalize white people. In fact, the Justice Department had to put out a statement, or they chose to put out a statement yesterday, saying that when you say that you're going to do things the way you're going to do it, and white people will pay the price on housing, that's called racism, and that's illegal in public policy. But Democrats don't care because they don't care. So, gray background daycare centers receive huge amounts of subsidies, right? Why are parents charged? And really the direct answer is Democrats. It honestly is. Redistributionist, kleptocratic Democrats who are here to destroy Western civilization because they're not the Democrats of John F. Kennedy's era. Right? Bobby Kennedy and John F. Kennedy would not be allowed anywhere near the Democrat Party today by the Democrat Party today because they're too reasonable. John F. Kennedy. And they weren't necessarily the most reasonable people on the planet, but compared to the Democrats today, they were the most reasonable people on the planet. That Bobby Kennedy, look, they're torturing RFK Jr. today because he doesn't want to give your child 27 vaccinations that we have no idea. Does it cause autism? Does it cause liver failure? Does it cause, and they don't care. This is the absolute reality. They do not care. Whether millions of children, they abort 1 million children a year and harvest their organs, honestly, from hell. Dr. Joseph Mengele is slack-jawed in awe of the Democrat Party. They're beyond conscience. And then finally on the mailbag for today, from Rock Chick. I love Rock Chick. That's great. I actually looked up Rock Chick on the internet today, and there are all kinds of Rock Chick. There's a series, and Kristen Ashley, and romance series, and all that good stuff. But Rock Chick says, "Hi, Chris. It's my birthday today." It's my birthday today. Isn't that great? It's January 7th, and it's your birthday. Now, Rock Chick, well, happy birthday, Rock Chick. I'm very happy to hear that. And you sound very cheerful and happy, exclamation marks. It's great. Hi, Chris. It's my birthday today. Happy birthday to you, Rock Chick. Just want to say I love your show. And my favorite thing is when you laugh at something you just said or heard. I know yes. You are hilarious and smart and make my day. Thank you. I didn't see a question in there. That's not, but that is Rock Chick. Thank you very, very much. And happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Rock Chick. Happy birthday to you. Isn't that great? That's just wonderful. And so when you say things and you laugh at something you just said, I've heard about that before. You're not really supposed to laugh at your own jokes. But here's the problem I have with my own jokes. It's almost always, when I'm doing the radio show, it's almost always the first time I've heard the joke. I've never heard the joke. It just occurred to me as I was going on and on. And sometimes this happens when I'm driving. I'll be driving and I'll think of something and I'll just laugh. I will. And because it's funny. And it doesn't matter if I hear it out loud, I just think it. And it makes me laugh. I'll laugh in the car by myself if I think of something. But people have given me a hard time. Friends and family have given me a hard time. What are you doing laughing? It's just you talking. And I'm like, well, it struck me as funny. What am I supposed to do? Act like a Democrat? But that's right. Other thing when you laugh at something you just said or heard. And also on the radio show, in large part because of Michael Piercy, I'm hearing sound bites and I'm hearing things that I've never heard before. And it's the first time I've heard them. And sometimes with the Democrats, even the second time you hear it's pretty darn funny. But yes, Rock Chick, I've heard that before. When you laugh at something you just said. And honestly, this is the God's honest truth. Normally that's because it's the first time I've heard it. I may have said it, but it's still the first time I've heard it. I just thought of it as I was saying it. But I've got to confess, and this is a terrible thing, I do laugh at my own jokes sometime. Should we get to Keith Ellison next? We're going to have to figure out what to get to next with the minutes we have remaining. That commie, racist, anti-American Keith Ellison, the Attorney General of Minnesota. Amazing audio. Maybe that'll be it.
I don't want to hear laughing or, derisive laughter.
Well, we got a little bit of breaking news going on out of Minneapolis in the last couple of minutes. In fact, we've got a soundbite from just before Christmas. The radical left-wing extremist anti-American Democrat mayor of Minneapolis is a guy named Jacob Fry. Jacob Fry. And just before Christmas, he's warning, you better not enforce the law around here, or we might have to burn the place down.
I am increasingly concerned because of the chaos that is being caused by these ICE agents, that somebody is going to get seriously injured or killed. Somebody is going to get seriously injured or killed.
Injured.
And whether that is an ICE agent or a community member, we all know the tinderbox that could explode because of it.
Well, why don't you start doing something to calm things down rather than inciting violence? which is what he's doing right there. Now, I can tell you the headline from KARE, Channel 11. The headline is, Witness, somebody was just shot in Minneapolis, and the headline is, Witness reports someone shot by ICE agent in Minneapolis. I think it's time to burn Portland, Oregon. Let's see. Witnesses report shooting in South Minneapolis amid large federal law enforcement presence. So you have to wonder at that point, and the first headlines were perfectly unclear. Was it police shooting a criminal, an illegal alien gang member in Minneapolis, maybe a Somali warlord, maybe the son of Mohammed Farah Aidid? Actually, the son of the warlord Mohammed Farah Aidid joined the United States Marine Corps and served in Somalia at the time. But never mind that. The Fox channel in Minneapolis, police swarm scene of federal law enforcement shooting in Minneapolis. And I got to tell you, you go to enforce the law, and we learned recently, just the last few days, I think, that the Justice Department had sent in about 2,000 federal law enforcement to Minneapolis and to Minnesota because they like to enforce the law. The Democrat Party likes to burn things and shoot people because, they're not normal. So we've got this going on. Witness reports someone shot by ICE agent. Was it a Somali? Was the agent a Jew? Because that could cause problems. And honestly, the Democrat Party has, if the United States were a sock, they've pulled the sock inside out. They're doing terrible things to the country. PBS last night, Panhandler Broadcasting System, 2,000 federal agents sent to Minneapolis area to carry out the largest ever ICE operation in Minneapolis. The Democrats are on the side of crime.